Hello, facilitators, and welcome to another video on the Waves of Communication channel. My name is Marci Melzer. I'm an intuitive speech-language pathologist and natural functional language facilitation expert, consultant, coach, all that stuff. And what that means is I'm here to help parents and caregivers who I believe are the best language facilitators take the right action at home so that you can facilitate faster progress toward the outcome you want, whether that is to see ASD symptoms diminish, or if you want to actually facilitate the functional communication that your child needs, which is how those ASD symptoms diminish. And today I am gonna sort of get you back on track. That's what the hope is for this video. We're talking about 5 virtual autism parenting mistakes. And these mistakes are super common with parents who have kids with virtual autism, and they are also blocking your child's progress. You might not even realize that some of these habits or mistakes have slipped in. But the good thing about mistakes and talking about mistakes is that when you realize them, you can make changes and see better outcomes. And that's what this video is all about. So let's get into it. What I'm going to be talking about today. And then remember, if you know your child has virtual autism, if you've been watching my videos, so I'm not even going to get into that. You can watch that on other videos. But here's what we're going to be talking about on today's video. I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 most common virtual autism parenting mistakes that have come from parents who I'm working with. And I'm going to tell you why these mistakes happen, and I'm going to show you how these mistakes actually block functional progress, so you know if you're making these mistakes that it's time to change. And then I'm going to tell you how to change and what to do if, in fact, you have made one of these mistakes. So stay tuned. I know this is going to be one of those where you're just it's coaching video. All right, so I know that virtual autism is tricky, because here is a comment from somebody on YouTube who says, I finally talked my husband into getting the book because I was getting a lot of progress from doing what I'm doing, which means she was watching my videos and making some changes, but she has no plan and she's overwhelmed. And her partner agreed, because he said, you're right, because she gave up. She was seeing progress, but she gave up because she has no plan. And then the TV was back on again because the child wasn't interested in whatever she had to do. She sort of worked it out. So these are the mistakes that happen that cause these things to happen. That's what we're talking about today. And remember, I have a get started guide, free get started guide at wavesofcommunication.com. This keeps you connected with me so that you can learn about all of this. All right, here they are. I'm going to lay them out first so you can know what we're talking about today. And these are the 5 most common virtual autism parenting mistakes. And that is taking all devices away 100% cold turkey. And number 2 is failing to plan structured activities. And remember, we're going to be talking about each one of these in detail, but I'm just laying them out for you because if you've been doing any of these things, these are the mistakes that could be keeping you stuck. Number 3 is to respond to the late talker without talking. Number 4 is to physically guide the child through every task step by step. And number 5 is asking unnecessary questions. So if you find yourself doing any of these things or have done any of these things, these could be the reasons that you're feeling stuck. All right, the first issue or mistake that we're talking about is when parents remove technology totally from their child's experience. The child, every time they get it, they want to look at it, and you just always are taking that phone away. You're blocking them from watching all the TV. You're doing all this stuff. And this happens because of fear, right? And here's why it happens. Parents who remove all of the tech, you have come to a realization that your child is paying more attention to tech than they are to people or other things that you need and want them to pay attention to. You also remove it because you miss your connection with the child. And the only way you feel like you can get your connection back with the child is by taking away the thing that they are currently connected to. And you miss it and you want it back. Number 3 here is that you see that they are delayed in speech and social skills. You realize that a big portion of the reason that they are delayed in speech and social skills is because they spend too much time on technology. And so you want to strip it all away, hoping that they're going to replace all that time with speech and social skills. And you're afraid that the child will never, ever be motivated to develop their missing skills if they still have access to the devices. So this is why you take them away. And all of these things make perfect sense, and they're all very true. Okay. And see, but the problem is here in the child's eyes. You think you're offering them something better, or that you're taking away something bad. And in their case, you're taking away their favorite thing, and you never let them have it again. So you think they're taking it away forever. So they're going to show you that they're upset about that, because in their eyes, you are forcing them to do this thing cold turkey. And how does this block progress? Here, this is what happens. The serotonin increases. Because what happens, see, people don't realize that video time actually affects your brain chemically, right? The dopamine you get from solving the problem, seeing the thing, the exciting visual that triggers dopamine in your head. The content is created to do that. I'm creating dopamine in your head by giving you valuable things that you want to focus and listen to, and learn from and act upon. That's going to activate your brain. All video content does brain activation, and the things we like to listen to, that we choose to listen to, are dopamine triggers. And when you remove that experience, then the dopamine is replaced by serotonin, and this is what happens, right? Anger, frustration, boredom, sadness just come out of nowhere. You don't even realize why, because you're missing the dopamine, right? And so that's what happens. They just change their attitude and start getting angry, like I showed in the last slide. And then the detachment from the enforcer of their loss. If you are the one that took it away or keeps taking it away, now they don't like you and they don't want you, and they're going to detach from you or try to manipulate you because you are enforcing their loss. And they're distracted because in their head, you're not giving them the video experience anymore. So now they're only in their head, missing their friends and missing the dopamine, trying to recreate in their head, thinking in their head about the videos and things that they saw on the TV because they can't get it anymore. So all they're doing is thinking about it, and they're distracted in their own mind by these things. And then they're resistant and annoyed by you when offered any new activity. And that's what happened in that slide. That mom tried to replace, she took away the 100% of the video and then tried to replace, and the child didn't like it because it was cold turkey, right? You're not ever letting them have it. Now, the reality is that parents can use devices to connect with techie children when they use these devices in structured ways, okay? So it's not, you don't have to go cold turkey. Tech is a part of all of our life, and here's what you're gonna do. Instead of removing cold turkey, okay, you need to schedule it in. Every day, schedule tech time. And it always happens in your itinerary of when you're going, after lunch, when you need it, okay? If you absolutely need to do something by yourself, take a shower, take a meeting, do a job, whatever, that's one of those times that you can schedule. Because remember, we all use technology. You used it as a babysitter, right? Your child used it as entertainment. That's why you used it as a babysitter. Babysitters entertain and keep the child busy and out of trouble while you do other things. So one of those times should be scheduled ahead to give you the opportunity to do what you got to do so the child can do what they do. And these periods of time, only 30 to 45 minutes, because that job, that meeting, that whatever, you've got to schedule it within that time, because more than 30 or 45 minutes, now the detachment begins. It's not a temporary, you're watching video while I'm doing something else. It's here's your new habit. I'm leaving you to your own devices for an indefinite time. It all has to be scheduled, okay? So one of those times is when you need them. The other time is when they want it. So after lunch or whatever, or coincide both of them with times that you need them. This is how you use it for mutual benefit video time, okay? Now, the number 2 thing that you can do here is plan. You must actually plan a post-tech functional activity. A functional activity is something that you do for a reason, and you make that job that you do for a reason fun. It could be a fun activity. We're going to go outside because we choose to go to the park after we have our video time. Your meeting is over, then we can go to the park. Your shopping, your phone call, your job, your shower, whatever is over. And so now we're moving into a cooperative activity, and you plan that activity before you give the phone so that it's expected that when the half-hour, 45-minute period is over, the device gets put away and you move on to something more functional. And you're going to be doing these functional activities all day long. But remember, we're talking about this cold turkey video situation, and that's what we're dealing with here, all right? And then the other way that you can use video together is to watch videos together. YouTube videos to learn how to cook or how to make your recipe, because you've already decided, hey, I want to do this functional activity. I want to build a snowman, but I don't know how to build a snowman. How do I go do that? Let's go watch a YouTube video together. This is the functional way to use video to teach you and learn together, because this is how we all use, that's how I use YouTube videos. And then if your child is going to have time on their own, you want to choose whatever video or game, whatever they're going to do in that half-hour or 45 minutes together with your child, and set a time frame for that, again, with the plan to move on. So it's all organized and structured so that you don't have to give away tech 24/7, and they aren't trying to steal it all the time because they're missing it, because it's already planned in. Okay, so here's the number 2. So let's get over here. The number 2 big mistake that parents make of virtual autism is failing to plan functional tech replacement activities. And this results in the child using independent problem-solving behavior. So if you're not planning how to cook food or how to manage this snack, like this person has left this child alone with this snack, and this is what happened. The child independently did something, but problem solved it, and now they can't. They're stuck in a situation, and they're having that situation, and this comes from failing to plan. Okay, if you are not replacing those activities with something functional that is structured and has expectations going around it, right? And why do parents give up planning? So this is what happens. You're chasing your kids around all day, playing like a firefighter, putting out fires all the time, responding to whatever they're doing, right? And this is why it happens. First of all, you don't know what to do. You're not sure. Whatever you tried isn't working, so you give up, that happened in that first slide that I shared. And if you don't know how to reconnect with your child, you can't figure out, you can't connect with them, then you'll give up. And if you believe that you can never be as fun as Bluey or Blippy or Cocomelon or whoever your child is watching because they have, explosions they do or whatever they do on the videos they're watching that you can't, if you don't believe that you, as this child's loving parent and caregiver who spends time and knows them better than anybody, can never be as fun, if you don't believe that, you'll give it up. You'll say, it's not worth it. They don't like me. They don't want me. I'm not as fun as that stuff. They like it better, right? They give it up. You give it up because you're tired of fighting and yelling. Because the only way you can get your child to actually do the things you want them to do, when you want them to do that, how you want them to do it, is by fighting with them or yelling at them. And you don't want to do that anymore, so you quit. Okay, remember, this is give up. You're giving up your plans. You're not teaching anymore. You're just following your kid around and putting out fires. And you don't know where or what to teach or where to start. And that's what that results in, okay? We're going to talk about that in the next video. This is why you give it up, because you just don't know what to do. Nothing you have done is working, okay? And in worry and fear, parents just give it away. They turn to experts to solve the problems that come with virtual autism. They start making phone calls. They start planning appointments. They start reconsidering that autism evaluation because you don't know what to do at home. That's why you stop planning. Okay. Now, how can relying on experts delay your progress? I've talked about this on a lot of videos. What happens at home because you're not facilitating, you're not doing, you're not structuring, you're not planning, you've given it away either to the child doing their own independent learning, like that first one who made a mess, or the therapist that you drive them to every week or whatever. At home, because you're not the primary facilitator anymore, you've given it away, they start manipulating you and becoming sneaky. They'll ignore their feelings, like you're ignoring the feelings to do the job. We got to get this done. Remember that yelling and screaming that you have been doing? That just causes anxiety in both you and your child because you don't want to be yelling and manhandling your child and ignoring all those feelings like, this feels yucky. I don't want to do this anymore, but it's the only way it gets it done. That's ignoring those feelings, and that causes anxiety. It grows in you, underlying in you, and you can't learn and focus when you're in anxiety. Also, you will hear when you are failing to plan, your child's echolale and scripted speech will increase. The virtual autism symptoms go off the scale when parents eliminate structure. And the new avoidance behaviors develop because remember, you're forcing and making because you're chasing them around, and then all of a sudden the problems happen, and now you've got to put out fires with hoses and, big problems. You got to pick your kid up and take them out of the place, or you get kicked out of somewhere, something like that. And then you're going to avoid going to those things. You're going to avoid interacting. You're going to avoid trying. Avoidance behaviors develop. Your child avoids you, you avoid your child. And then these ASD experts that you've given it away to, they disempower and gaslight you because of all this avoidance and stuff that's happening, okay? This is a rapid circle that leads to massive increase in ASD symptoms in children when parents fail to plan. And functional facilitators plan to reconnect and teach your child the functional skills they need at home. You have to, okay? And I'm going to show you how. So somebody says they share it live. Thank you, Poppy, for sharing it live. I really appreciate that. This is a really important topic. So what can parents do instead of relying on experts? First of all, you have to decide what functional skills you can teach because you've given it up, you've forgotten, you feel failure. You have to figure this out. This is what that workbook is for. That's why I showed that in the last slide. You have to collaborate with your child and find fun things to do. You can't just decide, I think he would like this because that hasn't worked out very well for you, has it? They're already in avoidance, and you say, hey, let's try this. It doesn't matter what you say. So that's why you have to collaborate with them to find the fun things that you're going to do and create a written itinerary for every day that you share with your child. Put it on a calendar, put it on the wall, put it on a list. Put it on whatever. It has to be written down so everybody knows what to expect. And then you have to plan ahead to take more time and teach these skills that you put on your itinerary step by step. Teach them ahead so that your child learns to do them. And when I talk about plan to take more time, that's time to teach your child. Day one, you might have to do 99% of that job. And they just push the button or close the lid or do the last step, right? And then as you move forward every single day, you do less, they do more. And this is how the functional job shifts from you doing it for them to them actually doing it for you, right? I had one mom tell me she taught her child how to use the rice cooker. And now at 4 years old, every day's rice is that 4-year-old's job. She chooses the rice. She asks her mom what we're going to cook to choose the right kind. She washes it. She, sorts it out, gets it all measured, does the finger test, all the whole thing, right? To see exactly how to make this rice. And this 4-year-old child, I've seen kids making coffee for their parents too. They learn how to do these things because it's empowering to them, right? They don't need tech time if they're too busy in the kitchen cooking rice. All right. So you're going to plan more times to teach your kids skills step by step that they do independently. And then you're going to document your work to review when you feel worried because this is what happens. You forget. you'll get triggered. You might have a month where your child is making gangbusters improvement. They're saying new words every day. They're doing whatever. They stop that quiet listening business, and now they're starting to spout out things. And it's shifted. Maybe it used to be echolalia, and now it's more of their own sort of phrases that they're trying to use. It might not be accurate, might not be good grammar, all that, but they're actually getting their point across with speech now. And it's still not accurate. You still want more. You still want conversation. You still want all that. And remember, we get all of that stuff from these structured functional experiences that you plan, okay? And when you document the things that you see exciting on those days that you feel overwhelmed because your child, those ASD symptoms come back because he falls into anxiety or something, then you have a plan to fall back on, and you see your results to prove that your plan is working, okay? It is working if you do it. Now, here's the next mistake that parents fall into, and that sometimes they find themselves responding to nonverbal communication because these late talkers are really communicating nonverbally, but you're not talking about the experience. You're just responding because you know what they feel and need and see because you're there and you know them so well, but you're not talking about the experience. And this is a big mistake, right? Because it blocks that child's ability. So let's find out why it happens first, okay? Parents will limit what they are saying to their child who's not talking very well. And this happens to every single late talker. So why does it happen? Number one, that parent or caregiver is stuck in their intuition. They're using literal telepathy and every memory you know about your child to anticipate their wants and needs. You know them, you know what time they want you to eat, you know what they want to eat, you know how they want their sandwich cut, all that. You could be waiting to see what the child does and says first. Like I talked about in the last video, you don't know what to do, so you're just waiting for them to trigger some next activity that you do. And then thinking in your own mind to plan the next step. Like you're in your own mind, they're in their own mind wondering, what's she going to make me do? And you're in your own mind thinking, okay, I guess we need to do this and we need to do this and he needs to eat and he needs to get a bath and when am I going to put that in? And you're doing all that in your own head instead of together with your child. And you could be underestimating. In fact, this happens. Literally, this happens to every single child with virtual autism, especially if you have had ever a thought in your mind, I wonder if it is really, really autism. If you've ever had that thought, guarantee you yourself underestimated your child because you didn't believe that they were going to be able to understand you. You weren't really sure because they're not talking, they're not listening, right? They're not listening. It's not that they don't understand. Kids with virtual autism are bad listeners. They're thinking about tech. They're not focused on you unless you prove that you are better than tech. And that's the whole point of virtual autism parenting. You have to prove every single day that you are better than, you can offer better learning, you can offer better entertainment, you can offer better consolation, you can help them go to sleep, you can help them wake up, you can help them get excited, you can teach them things better than videos. I promise you, you can. Even though it hasn't been working out for you so far, that's just because you're not approaching this child from their perspective. You're approaching it from your perspective or something somebody told you to do, right? Because these kids are telling you every single day what's going on. It's just not with words. And you've been doing your intuitive understanding of what they want and need their whole life. That's why you don't talk so much, because you feel like you're wasting your breath, but you're not. You're not. Because this child can understand complex language a lot more than you believe that they can understand. Try them, right? Because this is what happens over time. Expectations and manipulations. When things are detached, they replace learning. So both the child is teaching you, this is what I need you to respond to me, and both the parent is teaching the child, this is what I want you to do. This is how I want you to respond to me. It's all manipulation. Do this. I need you to do this. And this has come from both ways. Remember, your child learned this from you because you've been telling them to do things, yelling at them, manhandling them, whatever you've been doing, okay? And this is what happens, okay? Now, how does all that limit speech block? You know, This limited speech blocks progress in virtual autism, but it also, again, is what causes these ASD symptoms to increase. So you have to talk more if you want your child to talk more. And the child becomes entitled to whatever they show you. They point to something, they make a noise, they do it, they expect you to give it to them because you have been doing that. You've been responsive. They become over attachment to that over responsive parent who caters to them. They won't listen to anybody else. They won't go to anybody else because other people make them do things, and you just give them what they want intuitively. You don't have to know. You already know. The children stop listening and then they become the boss. If you have a boss baby child in your life, this is why. You're not talking to them enough. You're talking to everybody else and keeping all your stuff in your head. And without functional language models, you talking to them about all the things you're thinking in your head, the scripts and echolalia increase even more, because now they're going into their own head and they're thinking about the videos because they're not hearing speech from you. They're hearing it in their head. Have you made some of these mistakes? If you have, comment now and share your experience. We'll talk about them at the end because I know a lot of you are doing these things. And this is your opportunity right now to hit the share button, the subscribe button. Poppy already shared it live. Thank you so much, Poppy. All parents need to hear this information. Thank you so much for supporting me. All right, so listen, this is how you can do this. Parents can use functional problem solving because all day long, little problems come up in your life. And this is where your focus can get away from tech and into functional activities, right? Because while you're talking through the problem, you are facilitating the functional speech the child actually needs for success in their life. Right? You're not, this isn't labels and stuff. This is what we have to do to solve the problems because this is what everybody's thinking about. So here is what you can do. If you've been doing these things, not talking enough, if you haven't been talking enough, which you probably haven't, this is what you can, instead of waiting for your child to do something before you talk. First of all, you've got a scheduled itinerary, but now even during the day, even outside of your scheduled things, this is going to come up. So when your child comes to you to say, let's do this, teach me this, show me this, what is that? You use full sentences and tell the stories about what you know about your life. Oh, that's a dog. I love dogs. Remember, this is like the dog that I had when I was a little girl. That kind of informational full sentences and stories includes all the language your child needs to learn from, okay? You also can say what you are thinking and feeling out loud, because when you say what you are thinking and feeling out loud, your child learns how to do that for themselves. And you can explain what you are doing instead of talking about you're doing this and you're happy and you're holding your dog and you're playing with the thing. Talk about what you are doing, because you demo all these functional things as you make the cake, as you clean the floor, as you wipe up their mess, as you change their clothes, as you do all the things you do. Explain what you're doing in more detail. Talk your head off. Talk about the reasons that you make decisions. Oh, I don't want to do that because I don't like it, or I like it, or it feels better for me, or that makes me feel angry, so I don't want to do it, or that makes me feel scared, so I don't want, whatever. You have to talk more, basically, lots more. And this is what you can do instead of waiting for the child to do or say something for you to analyze and shift and change. Like, that's the ABA way. And you don't want to be that. You have to be ahead of them. Okay, I'm telling you, try it. Try giving them more to look at and listen to and see what happens. Watch them copy you without you asking. Watch them do what you want. And if you don't know how to do this, or you've been doing this and you have questions, this is how you learn. My members have all access training. If you don't know what to do, this is a place to start. My memberships. You can watch hundreds of videos targeted to tell you exactly what to do. And you can even ask me questions if the videos don't tell you enough, because that happens all the time. I just had a big, long discussion about prompting in our group. So parents of virtual autism, this is the next problem or mistake that parents make. Parents of virtual autism often feel the need to physically guide your child through every job, step by step. I've got to hold your hands. I've got to do it for you, all of that. And this is really a mistake because it's eliminating the child's functional access and functional learning. You're just continuing to do it for them. And this is where the babying continues far beyond where it should be. If you're still feeding your child, if you're still dressing your child beyond 2 years old, where they could start to be doing these things on their own, this is where we have a problem. You're underestimating again. This is why it happens. You're still underestimating your child's ability to understand or do the thing. And the child is resistant. This could be the other thing. Like, they could be angry with you and about the way that you've been going about things, and they're just in a bad mood about being with you, and they don't want to do anything that you want with them. So now you force them, right? You have to, because you have to get them dressed, you have to get it done. You have to push the issue. This is where the yelling and all that business comes in, and they're just resistant. So now they don't like you. They're a bad student. And the child has previously done a poor job with the skill, and you want a different result. So you just do it for them. Instead of waiting for them to learn to do it on their own, you do it for them. You're impatient. And then the child, it can't be trusted to stay safe. So before, they have shown you that, this is what happens when, parents get older late talkers. This is because as the child gets older, their access to getting in trouble increases exponentially. As soon as they can walk, they can access light sockets and, or even crawling around. They can get into cords and things they put in their mouth and, all that stuff. Then when they can climb, it gets worse. And when they can open cabinets and all that stuff, as their development increases, their ability to get into trouble also increases. And so if you are not structuring your child's experience, they're going to use their own problem solving to get what they want. And if they know how to climb, they're going to climb. They're not going to consider safety or security or time of day or physical health or any of that. If they want what they want and they've got a skill, they're going to use their skill, okay, whatever they've got. And so you're underestimating, and they're resistant, or they've done a poor job, and they can't be trusted to be safety. This is why you do it. Okay, this is why you say they can't, they're not able to, they're to this, to that, to whatever. So you do it for them. And that's just because you don't trust them. You don't trust that they'll make jobs, do it according to your expectations. So if you don't trust them, you're going to make them. And you can't help it because the jobs have to get done. So what are you going to do instead? Right? But first, you have to understand this is really blocking your child's progress. You can't continue to baby your late talkers. You have to empower them. And these power struggles begin because these kids want power, and they're going to take it any way they can, by manipulating, by sneaking, by forcing, by schmoozing, whatever they're doing to get what they want. And the child's too distracted by the need to escape. So remember, if you're not connected in cooperative learning, you're making your child do something. They're not learning. They're just waiting for it to be done so they can go away. And avoidance and resistance, again, that replaces compliance. Teaching isn't happening. Compliance isn't happening. I'm trying to figure out, this is when you hate your job and you can't wait to go home, right? And then the children feel demoralized and treated like babies. These are big kids. A lot of big kids are physically manhandled because, remember, bigger they are, the more trouble they can get into, the more they've got to be manhandled. And it's impossible. But see, parents can use functional jobs to equip and empower kids. This is what you do. You give them jobs and you show them jobs and you give them, this is what they do in the schools. Think about it, right? They've got the job of the line leader and the door holder and the one who puts the names out, or the ones that puts the pencils or the napkins or whatever, right? When you give kids jobs and responsibility, because you teach them to do the job properly, and then you reward them for their work by giving them, they get the star of the day, or they get the whatever, because the kids want these jobs. They're coveted. I want to work. I want to work. I want to do, because they're empowered when they accomplish a job that is given to them that is functional, that applies to their life, right? Who doesn't want to be the line leader? Who, the door holder gets to see all the kids as they go out and high five them or whatever. There are always perks with working. That's why we work, right? And this is it. You're wanting to empower these kids with jobs. real work jobs. So here's what you can do. Instead of hands-on guidance, first of all, keep your hands off your child and provide detailed demonstrations of 3-step processes. Do this and this and this. Let's go. That kind of situation where you're showing and repeating and asking if they understand. You got that? Try it for yourself. And repeat your demonstrations with side-by-side trials. Okay, let's do it together. Now I'm going to do it for you. Now let's do it together. If you're brushing your teeth, teaching your child to brush their teeth, you should be brushing your teeth. If you're teaching your child to eat with chopsticks, you should also be eating with chopsticks. Side-by-side trials. They're going to see you struggle and they're going to see you adjust to your struggle, and they're going to learn those strategies so they become independent. And then you're going to ask the child if they need help only when they struggle. Oh, that looks tricky. Are you sure you got this? Are you okay? That's how you're going to ask them for help. You're not going to watch them struggle and jump in and save the day, because they need to struggle to figure out to get through it. So you're going to ask before, and then you're only going to touch the child when they ask for help. And then instead of touching the child, you might touch the object or touch the thing that they're doing so that they still use their own hands to get it done. This is a big grandma habit mistake that happens because parents of VA often find themselves asking unnecessary questions. This is a biggie mistake that a lot of people happen. Whenever you take your child out to the neighbors or to grandma or to someone else, all they give this child is questions and questions and questions. How are you? What are you? What are you doing? What are you wearing? What have you been doing? Because, and I'll show you why it happens. So parents and caregivers often find themselves asking unnecessary questions. I'm not saying questions are totally out of the question, but the unnecessary ones, like when you walk in a room and say, what are you doing, when you see the child is playing with the train, okay? Questions are natural prompts to get people talking. So that, like I said, grandmas, neighbors, everybody's going to use these things. They're going to want to spark up a conversation, but late talkers see these questions as a test. Am I going to say it right? And what it is, it's an unconscious expression that you want a response. Grandma wants to hear the child talk. The neighbor is judging this child to see if he will answer the question. I'm telling you, it is really these questions that you already know the answer to. What's your name? How old are you? Where do you live? Who is your mommy? What is this picture? All those things that you as a person, not the child, you know the answer to. You gave the child their name. It's unconscious expression that you just want them to say something to you because it's a respect thing. You demand it, okay? And this could be happening unconsciously. You don't realize it. And it could also be happening because you're just hoping, oh my gosh, I just hope he'll respond. If I keep asking questions, eventually he'll answer one, right? It's hope, blind hope, because you're not teaching the language they need. I'll show you how to go do it. Don't worry. Parents haven't thought ahead about the topic. So if the child comes at you with some random thing and you don't know what to say, you're going to say, what is that? Why is that? I don't understand what that is. I don't know what that is. And you're not connecting with the child first. So you haven't thought ahead about the topic. It's random and you don't know. And you'll be like, what is that? I don't understand what blah, blah, blah means, that kind of stuff. That's unnecessary. And when the child answers, the parent feels better. So if you have asked questions that you already know the answer to, like, what's your name? Where is this? What's your age? And the child did answer. Now you're empowered to be the prompter. Oh yeah, I can make them talk whenever I want. All I have to do is ask them a question. And every time, this is the thing, folks, every time you prompt your child and they respond, that's the same as that tech information on the phone that causes dopamine in your head. You keep doing it because you want to keep feeling that spark of he is getting better. He is doing it. It is normal speech. That was the right answer. And if you've been doing a lot of this, when you get the wrong answer or when you ask your child, what do you want? And they say, what do you want back to you? That kind of thing. What do you want? You want to eat ice cream, and you're like, oh, it wasn't exactly what I hoped for or whatever. Then the dopamine and the serotonin goes up. So it happens with you. So that's why you keep doing it, hoping, because it's just like, it's a 50-50 rule. He might get it right. I might get the dopamine. Let me get the dopamine. Let me try to get the dopamine. That's why you keep going back to your phone and scrolling whatever you scroll. You're getting dopamine when you prompt your child and they perform, and you're getting happy on it because you're sad because they're delayed, and you're prompting it so that you feel happy. Okay. And this is why they do it. This is why you ask unnecessary questions. Okay. Now I'm going to show you what to do instead. But first I have to tell you how this blocks process, because you really can't keep asking these questions. Some parents will keep asking questions if they receive a scripted or non-functional response. So this is the thing. Maybe your child is still, so the question triggers anxiety. Whenever a child's in anxiety, they go back to their old way of talking, which could be the scripted and echolalia that they've used, their video memory things. And then that's what they're spouting out at you. And that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear functional language. So when you hear the scripts, that triggers you, and then you go into this question. I don't know what that means. That's not the correct syntax. That's a video from whatever. Where is that video from? Oh yeah, in the meaningful speech thing, I see a lot of parents wanting to know the source of their kid's gestalt. Where did he learn that phrase from? It doesn't matter where he learned the phrase from or what the phrase is. Don't spend your time worrying about where they learned it from. Spend your time connecting with the child to learn what they need to do. Let's talk about it, okay? So some parents will keep asking questions if they receive a scripted or non-functional response. And what happens when you keep doing this? I don't know what that means. That's not real speech. That kind of business, that's not a real behavior. That's not a behavior I like. If it's verbal or nonverbal, okay? It's confusing to kids because they're non-functional, right? So their speech is non-fun. All these things that you say, these questions, what are you doing? I don't understand. That's non-functional language for the child. That's why these questions are confusing, okay? And they're redundant to a child who's learning visually. They're showing you literally what they're talking about with their behavior. They're pointing, they're holding, they're taking you, they're dragging you, they're showing you, and you're like, where are you taking me? When they're literally pushing you into the bedroom, okay? That's an unnecessary question, and it's redundant. No need. All right. They also don't offer any new language to learn from. It's just the same question over and over and over again. And they result in the child repeating unnecessary questions as their own new form of echolalia, especially if you've taken away videos and all you're doing is asking them questions. Now your child's going to turn into a parrot and start asking questions. Okay. And parents who are stuck in asking questions can shift. Here's how you shift to providing the answers. Okay. Let me have a little drink here. So, yep. What can you say instead of an unnecessary question, right? You can explain why. Tell your why. Why are you coming in the room? Why do you need them to join you? Why are you talking to them? I was thinking about you. I love you. I need you to come. It's bath time now. We're getting ready to eat. All of that. Why? Talk about that when you're approaching them. Don't just walk in the room and say hi. Talk about what you're doing and describe what you're seeing. So if you walk in the room and you see your child playing with the toys in a certain way, and they're building or they're climbing or they're stringing or whatever they're doing, right? All of this stuff, that kind of thing. This sharing your opinions and triggers to your feelings. So you're going to describe what you're seeing. Oh, wow, look at that tall tower that you built. It's almost all the way to the ceiling. It's taller than you. Wow, that makes you look so small and the building looks so big, you know, all of that stuff. And then the triggers have out your feelings. Wow, I'm so proud of you. You cleaned up your whole room and you helped me carry the groceries, and that was really good. And when your child does something amazing that you do get excited about it, you really need to share your opinions about those things. But if your child does something that you don't like, you have to tell them that too. And you also have to tell a story about a similar situation that you experienced in your life. So what happens is they are going to do these things. And instead of asking these questions that you already know the answers to, what are you doing? What does that mean? All that stuff. And if you don't know the answer, you're just going to ask them to show you and teach you what they're doing, and then just talk about it cooperatively. There's no need to answer questions. Just tell stories. Oh, I remember when I did that, or remember when we did that before, or whatever. Okay, so that's the whole situation. This is the idea. Now, here are those 5 common parenting mistakes. Again, if you join me halfway through, you can rewind and look at all of them in detail, but here they are again. Taking away all devices 100% cold turkey. It's just not realistic, and it blocks progress. Failing to plan structured activities is the key. Responding without talking, so you need to talk more. Physically guiding through tasks step by step, in using that hand over hand business, things that you can teach your child, but they're not willing to learn, right? And asking unnecessary questions. When you do these 5 things, in any one of them or a combination of them, this is going to block your progress. Okay, now parents all over the world are learning a better way. And so this is a really nice, this is a parent who's working with me in my program. So this is a mom who has a late talker who is getting very close to that, got to go to school. And I don't want him to be using scripted phrases. He was using only scripted phrases to communicate with. Everything was from a video or whatever. And he was repeating a lot of them. And this was a lot of what he said. Over 1 month's time, all of those scripts faded. And now the child is using speech, but it's confabulated. There's a few of those that come in, especially when he's excited or anxious or things like that. But his parents are showing him now this more elevated level of language. So the scripts are going to go away completely because he's learning all the ways to use functional language phrases. And it's phrases he's picking up, long ones even, that are explaining how he feels, what he wants. And the other thing this late talker is doing a lot of is negotiation. So he's able to show up because his parents are planning structured activities, and he's showing up to see if he likes them or not. And he's offering, now that he's able to share these things with speech, I want it this way. I want the big one. I want to go first, or you go first. You do it. This one is for you, and this one is for me, and this one is for daddy. Like, he's sharing these things in hopes that his parents will further that speech. When you hear your child using spoken language functionally, your immediate job is to take it to the next level. Start the conversation. Dig into the details of what this child is telling you. That's how it's going to get going. And I see that there is a question coming in. I prepared speech bubbles for my kids' query and requests on the wall. Is this good? I'm going to say no, because watch this. It seems not correct as it's spontaneous or natural way based on my own understanding. And it's not correct. Questions and answers is not how we go through life. We go through life projecting our information. Only when we don't know something do we move into our queries, our question finding situation. If information is coming at us that is relevant, valuable, and functional, right, for the situation, relevant, valuable, applicable for the child at their level about the thing they're learning, then that's when they're going to learn it. They're not going to learn it from signposts around your house. Those of you who tried PECs and labeled all those things, then every time you opened the cabinet, you said, cabinet, that kind of thing. Your child doesn't have functional speech because you didn't have a conversation about that cabinet or why you're opening the cabinet. You were focused on those labels. Anytime you post phrases and answers, question answers, what is this? It's a thing. Like, they're all what questions or where questions. They're not why and how questions, because those are things you have to demonstrate and show, right? And explain. You explain your whys. Kids who have virtual autism are great at memorization. And if you've taken away their source of language that they've been memorizing from, it's up to you to replace them with something better. Remember, they're only using scripts because they've listened to the same video clips over and over and over and over again, so they could memorize them. And that memorized, just like the labels you put on the wall or the questions you're posting, whatever, these speech bubbles for questions and requests. If your child has a request, he's telling you non-verbally, I want this, or I need this, or can you help me? That's when you verbally tell your child. There's no reason for you to write these things and post them around. Spoken language is learned from listening. Okay, these visual cues are just reminders to your child that you know that their speech is late and that you've got to have tools around your house to teach them. And it's the slow way too, because all the time you spent creating those pictures and things to put on the wall, you could have been playing or taking your kid for a walk and teaching about the worms or dirt. And his natural queries are going to come out because you're showing him new experiences and explaining things for them. Okay? So parents worldwide are learning a better way. There is a better way than prompting your child through memorizing things. It's functional. The better way is functional. And she says, I want to thank you for giving us hope on our journey with our son, because some days you and your position on virtual autism are literally the only thing keeping me from falling apart. Triggers from the outside and all the things that are pressures to put. Okay, so how are you going to learn? If you haven't joined my program yet, here is your opportunity. There's a workbook. My If It Isn't Fun teaches you the theory of how to teach your child to talk faster than speech therapy. There's a 4-hour parent workshop. My YouTube membership, you can watch all the videos here on your own. That's the lowest cost option. But I've also got a Q&A forum and video library where you can ask me any question anytime you want. And you can sign up for video analysis, consultation, and even get certified professionally in how to help parents facilitate spoken language at home. It's my professional certification for caregivers, right? So if you need to hire someone to help you. And if you really are convinced that you're stuck and do not know what to do, I have a virtual autism catch-up program. It's a 3-month catch-up program because kids who already are saying words and using echolalia and showing these ASD symptoms and using all kinds of communication behavior, they can make progress very quickly when parents are dedicated to the process. And this 3-month catch-up program is no joke. You have to watch these videos, try these things, send me videos. I'm going to give you things you have to change, and you're going to come back over and over again to discuss what you're doing, why you're doing it, and help your child do this. And this is what it does. It's speech evolution for kids who say words. You're going to identify and eliminate all the environmental blockages, similar to what I just did on this video. If you need to know how to do the things on this video, I can coach you through that. You can address the child's anxiety and frustration, and you can help the child shift out of echolalia and scripting. This is what makes them look autistic. And when they start using functional language, advanced beyond the labels into functional speech, then they can learn social skills and make friends and do all the things that you want for your child with virtual autism, okay? Parents are the best functional facilitators. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel, watch all these videos, hit the notifications, all that stuff, because that's it. That's why I'm here. Waves of Communication is for you parents who want to get better results. You don't need to give it away. You can use these functional strategies every day in your home to help your child develop the spoken language they need. But this problem started at home, and the solution also begins at home. You've got to change your habits in the right way to shift from giving this job away, which you did with virtual autism, babysitting, teaching, language, all the stuff that your child was learning from the videos. Now they can learn from people, and it's up to you to do it. I've done lots of videos about how to set up your home program, but none of those videos will work if you continue to do the habits and mistakes that are in this video. And remember, all those reasons that they happen, they're valid reasons. People make these choices to do these behaviors with their kids, interact with their kids in these ways. because you're afraid, you're worried, you don't know what to do, and you don't have a plan. Okay, that's when you make mistakes. And so with a plan, when you know what to do, when you reconnect with your child and you let your child show you what to teach them, and then you dig in and you get consistent every day and do the work with your child, this is the only way that a child with virtual autism will shift, give up the scripts and echolalia and repetitive behaviors and all that stuff. They'll maintain some of that stuff. But what happens is they develop so much functional language that they can get into the school. They can sit through the show. They can make friends. They can, people are willing to watch them and do stuff because they're not aggressive or whatever they've got into, right? Because remember, without you facilitating the structured, functional, kind, advanced spoken language that they need, they're going to use behavior to communicate all the advanced, abstract, complex thoughts that they're thinking. They are. And your facilitation is the key. At home, starts at home, moves into the community, then you can pass your child off to spend time with other people once they develop functional language and stop using these scripts. And it can happen in as little as a few weeks, okay? It is happening in as little as a few weeks for parents all over the world. And it doesn't matter how old your child is, this virtual autism thing is fixable, if that's what you want to call about. It's not a disorder, it's habits. And the way we change habits is by changing habits. We have to do it ourselves. And remember, you can't change your child. You can't make them do anything, but you can change yourself. You can change your own habits. You can change how you interact. Remember, that's what this video is all about. The things that you as the parent and caregiver are doing with your child. And that's, you just need to be real conscious about that because your child is watching. They are listening. They are looking at you, especially when you change and you start to give them real amazing language and opportunities to learn functional opportunities that they want, that are valuable to them. They will pick it up. You just have to trust this process because it is intuitive. Nobody makes anything happen because we're dealing with human beings here. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you don't feel judged or whatever. That's not my intention. We call out these mistakes because they're mistakes that were made out of fear and worry and all those things that we do when we're not in our right mind or whatever, because that's what we do. Anxious minds don't learn very well. We all make mistakes. This is why your child uses these behaviors. They're in an anxious mind that they don't know what to do all the time. And so they're just doing whatever comes to them. And whether it's right or wrong, it is what it is. And you're the facilitator of shifting whatever that is into something that is functional, that everybody can understand. You can do it. I know it because parents are the best. You've proven it. Parents all over the world have proven it, and you can do it too. Thanks again for watching today, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.